Hello, and welcome to another episode of Justified Jewel Podcast. I'm your host, and my name is Joanne Cox. Here, you get so much information on so many different topics. We go over spirituality, physical, mental, well-being, just all around. The whole point is to enlighten you and to edify you in different areas. Today, we're going to talk about a wonderful topic. It's called Stop the Sabotage. That's right. We all do it somehow or the other. This young lady that I have on today is by the name of Gwen Russell. Now, Gwen and I met through Toastmasters in 2016 is when I joined. And she's going to tell you a little bit more about herself. Gwen, what would you like the viewing audience to know about you?
Well, thank you, Joanne, for having me today. And I'd like you to know, with us meeting with Toastmasters has been wonderful. It's been enlightening. It's been encouraging. I'm around like people who want to better themselves speaking in public. So that's one good thing. I work with a community college, and I enjoy working with students and helping them develop and grow. And I've been working there about 10 years.
Okay.
Exactly. And that's pretty much, I do enjoy reading. I love reading. I have a small book club that I developed here in the Cumberland County area. So the book club is going well. It's about 5 of us, and we encourage others to read. It's like the best relaxing type of thing that you can do.
Okay, so I know you have a lot to bring to the table today by you working in a college and being a reader, an avid reader. So let's get into the meat of the podcast today. Again, stop the sabotage. Now, Gwen, what is your definition of sabotage?
My definition of sabotage would be almost self-destroying yourself at a slower pace, but you don't realize it because this is what you're doing. It's the negativity that's attached to it. And it's not a good thing. And if you're not careful, you will destroy yourself emotionally and breaking down that confidence bit by bit. That's my definition.
Yes, and when we're doing this, most of the time we're not even aware that it's self-sabotage. Right. Now, what are some key things that can lead us to that, to say, oh, I think I might be sabotaging myself? Or is it that someone needs to tell us? What are some signs?
I think getting out of your own head, we start criticizing ourselves more than we should. We're looking at more of the wrong than the right. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to be careful of that, especially as females as well. We can self-sabotage with our weight, for example, and we will slowly break ourselves down, look in the mirror, comparing ourselves to others. We've got to be careful how much we do that.
Yes, yes. And I think, and tell me what you think about this, that the media plays a lot when it comes to women self-sabotaging, because you use the term making that comparison. And then now you're saying, oh, should I look like that? Should I sound like that? Should I dress like that? And you don't even realize that you just get drawn into that. Do you feel that the media has a big part in that?
Oh, I do. Commercials are constant. It's like a brainwashing that you don't realize you're being brainwashed into wanting to look like who's on the screen. And then you have Instagram, and then you have Facebook. It's lots of comparisons as to this is what I should be for this age or this size. It's almost out of control if you're not careful.
And you use the word almost. I beg the difference. I think we're already literally out of control. And that's just a few. Yeah, that's just a few of those signs. But I know that there's one that I'd like to discuss with you, and that's the actions that how we value things. You know, there's a difference in comparing yourself and what you actually value. So there are times where we don't place our right frame of mind in the things that we value. How does that fit into sabotage?
I think we value, once again, from media, we start switching what we value more of the materialistic areas than we do some of the good things we have, like some of our soft skills or maybe our personalities. We start forgetting because we're being brainwashed almost on a, well, really on a daily basis. So you start
Yes.
forgetting the good things about you and you replace them with the things that aren't so good. And the sabotaging just starts building and developing and getting larger and larger. Part of the
Yes.
brainwashing.
Yes. And I am guilty. I am guilty of this. Sometimes I will take the easy road out. And that means that I'm just comfortable and I know that I can do this and I can do it well. I find that I sabotage myself by not doing something that's maybe challenging when I
Right.
could be progressing with my goals or other things of that nature. Now, do you see that in your line of work with students that maybe don't go for the big things because of the challenge that it would create?
I do. And I see students who come in who are not sure about what their direction is, what they want to major in, for example, because their self-esteem is so scattered and scrambled. And I've
Mm,
got to clean up the mess or clear the clouds because it's pretty foggy for them and bring back their memory as to what is it that you're really good at? Do you remember what those things are? And making a list of those. We do it in chunks. And then the memory starts to come back. Oh, I do have those special skills. I do remember doing that. I have to remind them, but we have to find it. And a lot of times when it's scrambled, the self-sabotage starts creeping in because now you're confused. You're not sure what you have anymore. You have to be extremely careful.
yes. And again, that goes under setting those goals too low, you know,
Right.
and not even being aware of what your good points are. And I think that we can even go back maybe to childhood. What about the way that we are reared and some of the things that have been embedded in our heads? Can we bring that along to that can cause us to sabotage ourselves?
Oh, absolutely. Child rearing, and sometimes we repeat the same things with our own children. So we have to really be careful to catch it early. And going to school, comparing the have and the have-nots. That's also self-sabotaging and you don't realize it at the time.
Mhm.
I should be, I should have, I want to have, I want to be. We've got to change our language as well. Language is very important.
It
Very.
is. It is. And again, we met in Toastmasters, and there are just so many topics that Toastmasters will identify in us that we didn't already know. And language is one of them. How we say something, to say it softly, or to still be able to get your point across when you're doing that. Now, I know that we can sabotage relationships, whether they're romantic or non-romantic, male or female.
True.
How can you give me an example of sabotaging a girlfriend relationship? You know,
Well, I guess when you compare, it could be just some material things. Maybe this person is very materialistic and they love lots of jewelry and they love to travel and they're heavy spenders. You're thinking maybe I should spend as much. Maybe I should have as much as they have. And you start comparing and putting yourself almost into their body because now you're thinking this is what it ought to be. And you start losing yourself because once again, the comparison, watching, the language, what someone else does to make them happy. We have to remember what makes us happy too. That's once again, you start losing yourself because now you're looking at the other person and comparing this is what I ought to have and what I ought to be.
now that's one side of the spectrum. Now, the other side is not you sabotaging yourself, but maybe the other person sabotages you. Sometimes they don't even be aware of it, but there can be a spark of maybe jealousy going on there. Can you give me some examples of someone sabotaging the other person with it's not about you anymore. It's about them trying to hold you back.
Well, sure. And I think the conversation, once again, it could be, let's say, travel, and they've gone to 5 or 6 different countries. And every summer, I'm going to these different places. You should be doing that as well. You should be able to find the money to do it. It's so easy. I can't believe that you don't. The conversations, I can't believe, you should, you ought to try. We have to be sharp listeners to make sure we're not owning that and bringing that into our own lives. So subconsciously, I don't think they do realize what they're saying and how it affects us as well. I think you're correct on that.
Yes, yes. You're totally not aware of actually what is going on. You just realize that you want your friend to do it as well. But I'm going to take you down another lane again. Now, there are some that are actually, this is going to be negative, but we're going to pull it out to be something positive, okay? But there are times, especially in the corporate world with females, they can see you moving up the ladder, and there's some negative stereotypes. I don't know why you're doing that. You're going to have to work so hard. You're not going to be able to have fun. Can you understand that, Gwen, and give me a little feedback on that?
And that's absolutely true. Holding back information so you don't climb as quickly as that other person. So they will withhold information from you, not help to train you. And I think it's really so hard to see and be a part of, because you know what it takes. And the conversation, the words, once again, you have to try just a lot harder than you used to. You have to work 3 times as hard. And that's not always the case, but we believe it. We actually believe that. So climb that ladder, be careful who you associate with. Someone has to be in your corner as well to help you to climb up.
And you mentioned it earlier about the talk that we do to ourselves, and once someone says something in a negative way, it brings back all the other negative things you already had about yourself. And if you didn't have those things, now you're going, well, do I really have the skills to get this done? I don't know. And
Sure.
that can play over and over like a bad movie.
Right.
And you don't want that happening. You forgot because you lost your train of thought. And that's that inkling of maybe low self-esteem being there. Because
Sure.
when
And you start
yes,
questioning
go ahead.
yourself a lot. You question yourself, and the questioning can get out of hand. Got to be careful about, what are you questioning? All the negatives? Are we looking at the positives? Because they're still there. You didn't lose them. You just forgot about them. You got to bring them back.
And I want to go in another field of resisting change. Resisting change. As we get older, we could get a lot further with enjoyment or work, but we don't want to make the change. There's some changes that we need to make, but we're holding our own self back, Gwen.
It's true. And I think the circle of people that you surround yourself with is important. You need some positive thinkers, some positive doers. What you read and put into your head is very important. That way you keep that positive growth, and people who are growing, well, you want to grow also as they're growing, and they will help you, but you have to be careful of your circle of people that you are around on a regular basis.
Yes, yes, yes. And we have intertwined some of the ways that is going to filter again into the next question, but that is, how do we stop this self-sabotaging? And we've sort of brought some of those along the way, by, boosting your self-awareness. Can you give me some more so that we can really tune in on this part? Because we need to know that we're doing it and how we're going to stop doing it.
Right. I think, well, reading is always one of the best things too. I try to read from positive writers, whether it's T.D. Jakes, or it could be some other writers, who always give you that positivity about how you should look at the world and look at what your goals are. And it really helps. The more positive you read and put into your head, it stays in there. It really does. And talking to one another, using and changing our language, we've got to be conscious of change the words from negative to positive when we talk. Smaller words for better words and uplifting words, and learn to uplift one another and compliment and encourage one another. We don't do enough encouraging one another on a daily basis. And I find that I really have to do it in my line of work too, because students have come in not thinking positively. And I've got to use that encouragement and find those words to say, hey, you've got something worthwhile. Let's take a look at it. And how can you use it? What direction can I point them in? And
Wow.
enough visiting from students and talking with me, it builds that confidence up quite a bit. It
Yeah.
takes time. We have to work on it.
I think that's the operative word that we need to remember. It's going to take time, the word time. If we've built in some negativity and we're wanting to erase that, that has been embedded in you maybe from childhood or early adulthood. And now you need to read the books that you've talked about, listen to people like TD Jakes, and involve yourself with some good minded people that are in the positive light, and to keep that. And that's just a reflection or summary of some of the things that we've talked about. And I just want to roll those back to the people. And it's called boosting your self-awareness and to lift other people up, to edify others as if you're edifying yourself as well. And when you're doing this is to take the small steps little by little to know what you're doing, how you're doing it. And it's called befriending your own self and know what your strengths are. That's what Gwen was saying. Know what they are. And if you don't know what your strengths are, find the strengths in someone else that you can help them to build up. That we all go through it. So with me just doing that summarization, Gwen, give me something else that you want the viewers to know that we haven't even touched on.
The self-sabotage does concern me more. I feel like we haven't, with the younger generation, I think there's a little bit of a mixed bag there. It's a lot of confusion as to them finding themselves. And I think if we reach back and try to work with the younger group to make sure we're good leaders, good examples by our behavior, what we say, where we go, what we do. We always need to be conscious of their younger generation watching us as well. So we have to really be cognizant of what are we doing? What do we show them? How do we problem solve? It's got to be something where they can see our activity on a daily basis, working with them, volunteering, assisting them, tutoring them. Anything that we can touch bases with them, I think would be really great, so that we also, it brings our encouragement back, our positivity back by working with others. So I would say, hey, let's be careful about our behavior as adults because we have the youth watching us as well.
Yes. And again, sabotaging will keep you from meeting your goals, success, workplace, out of the workplace. Now, we've both mentioned Toastmasters. Tell us how Toastmasters could possibly help us from self-sabotaging ourselves.
Oh, I love it. I think when we make mistakes, which that's part of self-sabotaging, sometimes we draw back and we pull back because, oh, we made a mistake. Oh, I didn't do what I should do. That is a club that is encouraging, it's uplifting, it's building you up. We're saying, hey, it's okay when you make a mistake. You learn from your mistake. We train and teach you about your mistakes. And each time you get better and better, and you will see the gradual improvement because once again, it takes time.
Yes.
Toastmasters does that.
Yes, and I'm a member of Toastmasters as well. And so the point behind all of this, it can be very encouraging. So if you're the shy person, you're the introvert person, it's helping you to step out in that way. And then at the same time, you've got these people that are surrounding you in a friendly environment. So I'd love to just put that plug out and let people know that People can watch this all over, but we're right here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So please take the opportunity to look at a Toastmasters and find out which one you would like to go to. But we'd be happy for you to join a Toastmasters right here at Cape Fear. But now I just want you to know that, Gwen, can you believe it's already time has passed and we've been talking for 20 something minutes?
Oh my, good.
Yeah.
It's a great topic. And I hope that it's helped whoever's listening or watching, because we need to, once again, always bring in that positivity from a program like this, a podcast like this. It's helpful. So it's something that needs to happen all the time. Find these podcasts that are good, and this is one of the good ones.
Thank you very much for being my guest. And remember, she said she's a part of 2 different book clubs. Join a positive set and be with other like-minded people and join a book club. But again, I want to thank you for joining in for another episode. This is Justified Jewel Podcast. I am your host, Joanne Cox. I can also be found on my website, which is justifiedjewel.com. I am a motivational speaker as well as a life coach, and I can be found on any media site. You will always be able to look at all the podcasts, past and present to come. So again, Gwen, thank you for being here, and bring your friends along and look at all of the podcasts right here at Justified Jewel. Until next time, thank you again, Gwen.
Thank you.